So, good day. I'm here to present my BP monitor fuzzy logic. So, over the years, the research has found that both numbers are equally important in monitoring heart health. However, most studies shows a greater risk of stroke and heart disease related to higher systolic pressures compared with elevated diastolic pressures. That's especially true in people ages 50 and older, which is why doctors tend to monitor the top number more closely. The reason for the difference in risk may be related to the force put on the arteries when blood rushes out of the heart. So this is my BP readings. So we have this systolic for the stage 2 is greater than 140. Diastolic is greater than 90. Stage 1 is 130 to 139 systolic and diastolic for 80 to 89. Next is elevated. So 120 to 129. Diastolic is 8, lesser than 80. Then normal blood is lesser than 120 and the diastolic is lesser than 80. Low blood pressure is lesser than 90 and lesser than 60. So we visualize this. So this is the result of the BP readings, which has categorized categorizes it from 5 categories, which is high blood pressure, high blood pressure stage 1, elevated, normal, and low. So according to allbusinesstemplates.com, this will be the guideline in deciding what category of BP rating you have. So if your readings falls into different categories, so the correct blood pressure category is in the higher category. Example, you have 125 over 95 millimeters of mercury or mmHg, you have stage 1 hypertension, but based on my chart, it would be on the high blood pressure 2, stage 2. So, so if the categories are fall into different categories, like if my systolic is low, then my diastolic is max. Max would be my readings. If normal and high blood 1 would be my reading. But if they are in the same category, that category would be the reading of your BP. Like if low systolic and low diastolic, low BP would be the result. So in falsification, I set up the systolic to 50 to 180, the range of it. Diastolic is 35 to 100, and the consequent or the result of it is the BP rating, which is 1 to 10, from 1 to 10. So I categorize it with 5 categories. So low, normal, max, high blood 1, and high blood 2. So in systolic, we have the low 50 to 90, normal 75 to 121, max 90 to 134, high blood 1 100 to 146, high blood 2 is 140 to 180. Low for diastolic is 35 to 48, normal is 50 to 82, max is 60 to 86. High blood 1 is 75 to 91. High blood 2 is 90 to 100. So the rating would be low, which is 0 to 2, normal 2 to 4, max is 5 to 6, high blood 1 is 6 to 8, high blood 2 is 8 to 10. So why there is a BP rating? So if I have a max result, so how much percentage of my BP? So if I have max, maybe I have 60% max blood pressure. So to visualize it, so we need to call the view function. So here we have systolic, the diastolic, and the BP rating. So here in rule evaluation, we take passivized input and apply them to antecedents. So if we have low, low. If we have low and low diastolic, we have low. If systolic is low, diastolic is normal, we have normal. Just like what I've said earlier, that if you have different categories, the higher category would be the reading of it, just like low and normal. So normal would be the category of it. Normal and diastolic is low, so normal would be the reading of it. So until high blood 2. So this part, we need to control the rules to have to read the entire rules. So we need to call control system and insert our rules, which is 25 rules. So we started with 0 and the final is 24. So once we compiled it, we call control system simulation so that we can check how much the percentage of our BP. So the systolic, so here in our program, so instead of inputting uh, different numbers, so we just randomize it. Systolic randomized from 51 to 179, which is inside the range of it, and the diastolic is 36 to 99. So after that, we show the figure of the systolic and diastolic, and also the BP. So here we can see that the systolic is, or we need to specify another number. When we run this, so 145, 145, 59. So systolic is 145 and 59. So 145, the categories would fall into high blood 1 and high blood 2. The next is 59 would be in low and normal. So the rating would be 5 5.17, since it is already generated. It uses the centroid method of defuzzification. So in order for us to know what should we do when we receive that result, so in my case, I just multiplied it by 10, so that I can show that you have 50% instead of 5 out of 10. Then then I called BP result. So so the BP, so the computed BP is just a percentage, but I added an additional function so that you can check if what type of category you have. If you have low, you have high blood pressure 1, so we call BP result. So here we also need to call diastolic 1 and systolic function. If systolic returns 4 and diastolic returns 3, so it will check if what category would be the result. So if systolic is greater, like 4 greater than 3, so result would be 4 or stage 2 high. Stage 2 high. So here we printed out the 4, here we printed out based on the BP comp, which is 5.24%. So so if BP comp is greater than -1, true, but it is not lesser than 3. Greater than 1, but not lesser than 5. BP comp greater than 3 and lesser than 7. So we print you have 55.24% of stage 2 high blood pressure. But what should I do to prevent that, or my action towards that? So I need to call diagnosis result. So the details from here, if I have max, low, or normal blood pressure. So I will send that details to diagnosis. So here, so if result is low, then message would be returned as medication required to prevent fainting. If normal, you have excellent condition. If max, needs some medication prescription. Stage 1 high, 2 high, most doctors will prescribe medicines. Stage 2 high, far too high, medicine is strongly advised and necessary to prevent heart attack. So 4, which is stage 2 high. So far too high, medicine is strongly advised and necessary to prevent heart attack. That would be the result. So if we want to run another test, we can do that. So 82 over 36, which is 5.35. So the result would be, if I run this again, you have 53.52% low blood pressure. Medication required to prevent fainting. So another test is 165/83. So you have 70.09% stage 2 high blood pressure. Far too high, medicine is strongly advised and necessary to prevent heart attack. So you have noticed that 165 is in stage 2 high blood pressure, even though we have a low blood pressure of diastolic. So last day, I have found out one way to create fuzzy logic, and that is MATLAB. So here we can see that we can just plot it out in the system. This is the main part, and then when you click any of the input or output, you will redirected into here. So I plotted my range of systolic, diastolic, and the BP rating. So this is the systolic, diastolic, and the BP rating. So after that, I use the rules. So here, if you click this one, you will redirected to the rule page where you will configure what rule needed. So in our program in Python, the result would be like this: a very detailed rule rule view of our fuzzy logic. So we can see that 115 over 65.7. So it plotted here, and the result would be here. We have 64.4% of it. So when we see the surface viewer, this would be the rules, all the rules plotted. If you have a low, so it will check what would be the BP rating if you have this 150 systolic and 80 diastolic. So that's all.